Hey guys, welcome back to Scammed into Startup. This is episode 6. And today we are going to talk, firstly, about my little business. Finally, I've been telling you for weeks now that I'm going to tell you what exactly it was that I was trying to sell so horribly. So I'm going to talk about that today. And today we are going to talk about avoiding premature perfection with whatever it is that you're trying to sell or do. Or another way to put that might be avoiding useless perfection. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about that here. And firstly, it's okay if you've ever done this. Like it's not okay because it can really screw you up, as I'm about to demonstrate. But if you've ever gotten caught by this, or you're in the middle of getting caught by this, don't feel bad, because it's actually a very common rookie mistake. It's kind of like, and until you know better, it's like this is just naturally what people do. So if you have ever gotten caught in this trap, like don't feel bad about yourself, because it's pretty common. So what I mean by avoiding premature perfection is coming up with an idea, for whatever it is, a product, a service, whatever this thing that you're looking at turning into a business. But basically, you come up with an idea and you're like, oh my God, this is the most amazing idea ever. This is going to change the world, solve everybody's problems, and I'm going to make it exactly, as perfect as I can. I know that if I do this, it won't ever need any changes. It'll be just the most amazing thing ever. So you create this product, based on your picture for it. You say, okay, this is what it should be, and you make something off of that, and then you bring it to market, and you find out, well, that's not really what everybody else wants. You remember how I think it was episode 1. I talked about do your research. This episode is going to be very similar to that. We're going to talk a bit about research, and this is why it's important, to avoid premature perfection. And so let's go ahead and jump right in. Basically, I did this when I came up with my little thing. With the mentorship thing that I was doing, Company X and my mentor were trying to teach me how to do Amazon sales. And kind of like the whole thing they taught me was just go through Amazon and find some random niche there, some little niche product. If you've never heard the word niche gets tossed around a lot. Niche is kind of like a specialized area of business, So I don't know. For example, like think of think like a grocery store. Grocery stores are a pretty non-niche thing. There's a lot of grocery stores out there. And a lot of them are fairly generalized. Think like Walmart. You can buy anything you'd ever need at Walmart. Walmart is the opposite of niche. Walmart is a broad market. Niche market would be something like, I don't know. Here where I live, it's Whole Foods. Whole Foods is like like a health food store. So you can go to Whole Foods and buy your vegan stuff, or your fancy protein powder, or whatever it is you want. They're a niche store. Their niche is health food stuff. If you wanted to get even more niche than that, you could go find like a vitamin shop or something, or maybe some like a supplement store or something. That would be very niche, as opposed to very broad. Like Walmart, niche is very specific. FYI, hadn't intended to talk about that there, but if you've never heard the term niche, whatever, however you say it. I use that word a lot. You're going to hear it a lot if you do any kind of marketing thing. So anyway, there's your little mini lesson for the day. But anyway, so Company X had me going through and looking for niche, as in very specific little products on Amazon, where, not something where a lot of people are selling, basically. It's some little hobby or some little thing that people do or that they use. And basically they wanted me to find something like that, and then see if I could find, somebody would find the product similar, over, from China or something, get it from a manufacturer in China, and then throw it up on Amazon and sell it in that same little niche. So basically, I started doing that. When I started on this, this mentorship. I started going through Amazon, following the criteria that they were showing me, and I couldn't really find anything, honestly, at the beginning. I was following the method they were teaching me. I was just looking for random little niche products, and I wasn't really finding stuff. Like, there were things out there, but it's kind of like everything that I found kind of had a lot of competition already, which is the funny thing. The whole point of getting niche is to avoid competition. It's like the more specialized you can make something, the less likely it is somebody else is selling the exact same thing. Doesn't work like that on Amazon. I'm sorry. Amazon is a very competitive market at this point. So anyway, using the techniques that they taught me, I couldn't really find much. And about I don't know how long I've been doing this. I've been searching for 3 or 4 weeks, and couldn't really find anything. And I was getting a little worried. I was like, oh my God, I'm not going to find anything. I'm going to fail. But then something happened where I actually stumbled across a niche product by accident, because it was actually something I was buying and didn't know at the time how niche it was and how niche it really isn't. But anyway, so the thing that I stumbled across was a food preparation weight, as in a heavy lump of glass that you use for food preparation. Random little bit of knowledge you're never going to need today. So making something that I do is I like to make my own fermented vegetables. Things like pickles, sauerkraut, stuff like that. It's something I've been doing for 3 or 4 years now. It's just something I do for my gut health, and because it's a good food source. It gives you a lot of nutrients and stuff and a lot of probiotics. It's very good for you. So anyway, I live ferment my own pickles and my own sauerkraut. Very, very random hobby. I know, talk about a niche hobby, but what can I say? I'm kind of a hippie in that regard. I'm a lot of things, but one of the things that I am is a hippie. So, anyway, so one of the things, basically the way that works is you take a jar, you take, cabbage or cucumbers or whatever that you're pickling, fermenting, and you stick them in salt water in this jar, and you let them sit there for a couple of weeks until the bacteria in the food has produced lactic acid and turned it into pickles, basically. A lot of techno babble there, but basically, bottom line, you stick veggies in a jar with salt water and they ferment. Very, very cool process. But the thing I was looking for was a weight for that, because kind of the way that works, it's kind of like if you let the vegetables in the jar float to the top, it's like when they're exposed to the air, they tend to mold. So what you need is like something heavy you can set in there and push them down and keep them under the water. And what I've always just used are rocks, like literally just rocks from the backyard. If you go out and find a rock and you boil it, it's like you can stick the rock on there and the rock works just fine. But I was curious to see whether or not there was like a glass thing out there that I could do. And so I got on Amazon and was looking. By the way, I'm filming in the middle of the day, which is the opposite of what I usually do. So there might be a little bit of noise in the background. Usually I film at 2 a.m. to avoid that noise. But I got to be up early tomorrow, so I'm trying to film a little earlier. Anyway, sorry for the dog barking in the background and the cars going by. Anyway, though, so I was looking for a little glass pickling weight, that I could use to make pickles. And got online, and lo and behold, they're a thing. You can find them there on Amazon. They're kind of a niche little product there for people like me who ferment things. Anyways, I was looking online, and as I was looking, it just hit me like, oh my God, these little pickling weights are basically match the criteria I'm looking for exactly, for a little niche product that I could, have made and sell. And so I, got really excited. I was like, oh my God, I totally found these. And what's really cool, I actually know something about these. It's not like I'm just coming up with some random thing that I don't have any real connection to or knowledge about. It's like these are something I actually understand something about. So I decided that I was going to, sell these little things. I decided to make my own pickling weight and sell it on Amazon. Which again, no, it sounds like incredibly silly, but and we'll talk a little bit in some future episode about the metrics. I keep talking about metrics. We're gonna talk about those at some point, but we're gonna talk about the metrics of what got me excited about that and why some people are making a lot of money selling these things on Amazon. But anyway, I decided to do this, and being the nerd that I am, the engineer, the super perfectionist, I decided that I was going to make the best damn pickling weight ever, which, again, one of the things that my mentor told me that was actually, one of the only useful thing he ever told me was that you should try and improve upon something, find something out there with problems and try and, create a better version of it or something like that. I took that a little too seriously. I took that as, okay, let's make an entirely new thing. Let's fix every little problem that everybody's ever complained on in an Amazon review. So I got on Amazon, I was looking at all these other little weights out there, and I was looking at the complaints people had. And the way most of these weights work is they're pretty much just a flat puck of glass, kind of like a hockey puck. It's like a little oval, about that thick, just of glass. And kind of like one of the big complaints people have about them, or at least had about them when I was looking, is that they're hard to get out of the jar. When once your pickles are done and you need to get that little weight out, they're hard to grab. They're slippery. There's nothing to really grab onto. You have to kind of lever them out of the jar. And people complained about that a lot. So I thought, oh my God, I'm going to go ahead and make one of these things with a handle, like an actual nice handle. Some of them have like a little knob on the top you can like grab and pull, or like a little ridge that you can pull. I was like, I'm going to make a legit handle. And so I did, and part of the reason for that is, because I knew that I needed some kind of edge here. I needed something that would make my weight cooler than all the other ones out there. It's like I was trying to break into somebody else's market. It was a market where other people were already being successful. If I wanted to be successful too, I had to do something to kind of come in and steal the thunder a little bit, which may or may not be the nicest thing to do, but it's like, well, you know what, that's business. Part of business is getting customers to come to you, not to other people. And basically, I wanted to come in and create this brand new thing, and part of it too was that I wanted to make sure that I had a good shot, because it's like I'd already spent, a couple of weeks, like a month or two, trying to find something and not been able to find something, and so I was getting a little bit worried, that I was gonna like miss the train and not be able to find something in time to actually actually do well in this program that I enrolled in, which is hilarious now. But anyway, basically, I'm taking way too long to tell this story here. But basically, I was afraid that if I didn't jump on this thing and find something that would make something that was going to work, that I would, basically crash and burn, And the funny thing is, the little lesson here is that because I was so eager to make the most amazing thing ever, I ended up crashing and burning anyway, I jumped too soon. I didn't do enough research there. So basically, I designed this amazing little weight, and I found a manufacturer for it, which is an entire thing in itself. I had it produced, I had it shipped here, and this is what I designed. Look at that. This is the Kraut heavyweight pickling weight, which was the brand and the name that I came up with. The brand I came up with was Kraut, just something cool. And this thing was supposed to be called the heavyweight. You can see it there. It's a big, gorgeous piece of glass, honestly. Like, these things turned out really, really nicely, I have to say. Just from like an engineering perspective, they're very, very nice. The glass is beautiful. You can see there's like a little handle there. You can literally just grab these things really nicely. They're really cool. So that's what this is. This is the Kraut heavyweight fermentation weight, aka the total failure paperweight, which is what I'm selling it as now. But anyway, I had these made, and now you know what they look like. This is the thing I was selling here, and I'm still selling under something different, not as a fermentation weight. Now I'm selling it as a paperweight, very unsuccessfully. But anyway, it took a while, and I don't know, it took maybe 5 months to go from, okay, I have this thing I'm going to sell, to I've designed it and had it produced, and it's actually arriving at my door, like the pallet is actually here in town. I can go pick it up and be ready to ship these things off to Amazon. And the thing was, while I had all this time on my hands, I was trying to figure out my sales strategy. While waiting for these things to arrive, I was like, well, okay, how am I going to sell these? What do I want to sell them for? Do I want to sell them like in a little multi-pack? Do I want to sell them individually? I was trying to figure out my sales strategy for these, and after I don't know, kind of about a month before they were actually like before I actually got a hold of them, so a month before I went and picked them up from the shipping company that I had shipped them here to where I live. Um, I was watching some of these people on Amazon, and I was kind of starting to freak out a little bit because the more I looked at it, the more I was starting to realize that I was not going to be able to compete with the competition out there. It was the shittiest feeling ever. It's like totally, just letting the air out of your balloon there. Um, Basically, when I had these manufactured, I got them for $3 a piece, which doesn't sound like much until you realize that some of the competition were selling, like literally the competition that freaked me out the most where it was selling six of these little things. Not this exactly. They were selling just similar, a little flat puck of glass with a little ridge on it for a handle. But they were selling these things six of them in a little pack for $18. Which means that really they were selling them for $3 a pop, which is what I got them for. Which means that I was buying my things for the same amount that this other competitor was selling them for after they'd already paid manufacturing costs and cost to ship and cost to package and everything else, and they were theoretically still making a profit. Which basically means that they were going to sweep the floor with me. It's like by the time I actually managed to ship these and get them to Amazon and package them or whatever I was going to do, it's going to cost me around $4.50 a piece for these, which means I could not hope to compete with the competition at all. And the reason for that is because I'd made basically the Rolls Royce of fermentation weights here. Super perfect, amazing, beautiful little thing. I really hope you can see how nice this is there. You can see through the camera. The glass on this is like brilliant. It's just gorgeous. It looks like a big diamond. Very, very pretty. But that's the thing. I had the Rolls Royce of pickling weights. The problem was nobody would care. It's like at the end of the day, it's a flat lump of glass. Who cares? People are going to buy, whatever one they think is going to do the thing for them. But more importantly, people are going to buy something that's cheap. They're not going to pay another $5 a pop. If I was going to sell them in a 4-pack, it'd be like another $20. For these things just because they have a little handle and they look really nice. They're going to go over to the one that's half the price and say, oh, it's a lump of glass. Cool. The reviews are really good. Why am I going to buy this fancy one here when I can buy the cheap one just as well? And unfortunately, I basically had to scrap my entire Amazon plan. I could not compete. If I wanted to actually sell any of these, I'd end up losing money for how cheaply I had to price them in order to compete with the competition. I wouldn't make any money. And a very, very shitty feeling. Again, it, kind of let the air out of my sails there. Pretty much threw me into a funk for about a month and a half. I didn't do anything with all this stuff. I was kind of just like, well, that was a failure, and basically went and, just crashed for a month and a half. Really shitty feeling. Basically I'd wasted 8 months. I'd wasted $10,000. I had 2,000 of these things produced. So by the time you, take, $3 a pop times 2,000, that's $6,000 plus another $1,500 to have molds for these produced. Glass is really a pain in the ass to produce, by the way. I had to pay for a mold that I had made for these things, which is another $1,500, and then shipping costs and just other things. Basically, I'd wasted just shy of $10,000 having these things produced. So very, very crappy. And unfortunately, it taught me unfortunately, I guess, it taught me some very hard lessons there. Firstly, it taught me some interesting lessons about Amazon and about just about markets in general, which we'll go into at some later date. But one of the big things it taught me was to approach any market that I'm looking at very cautiously, especially if I'm putting any money in for startup costs. There are some businesses where you can get into them without spending a lot of money. There are other businesses where you need inventory, like right there. I spent $10,000 on inventory. That's a major major startup cost, you know. Um, but this failure taught me to do research, you know. I thought I did research when I first did these. You know, again, I was going through and looking at reviews and saying, okay, you know, what are people complaining about? But, you know, I didn't do enough research on the competition. You know, I looked at what the competition was doing wrong. I didn't look at what they were doing right. You know, because again, you know, they were selling their things for, you know, the same price or less than what I was buying mine for. You know, which means that unless mine has some major wow factor to it, you know, and again, just looking nice, it is not enough of a wow factor for this particular market, you know, and I didn't realize that at the time, but it really is. It's people are not going to pay twice the price for something that looks nice when at the end of the day, it's not fashion, it's not a car, it's a lump of glass, you know, that they're using as a food preparation weight, you know. So it is like, you know, little things like that. You know, I didn't do enough research on the competition and on the market. I just researched the problems in the market. I didn't realize what it really takes to be successful in that market. Um, you know, and at the end of the day, it bit me pretty hard. You know, so moral of the story: do not optimize prematurely. You know, do not create the most uselessly perfect thing ever. At some point, we're going to talk about smoke testing. Which is kind of like the answer to how to avoid premature optimization. But for now, just know that if you come up with an idea or you come up with a thing or a service or whatever, a product, do not assume that you know exactly the perfect way to do it, because I almost guarantee you don't. Your picture for what you want is probably very likely much different than what your average customer really wants out there. You know, again, my average customer really just wanted a cheap thing that they could set in a jar, you know, probably wouldn't care about something like this, you know. Um, so when you do something, if you get an idea, you need to do your research. You know, talked about this before, but I'll say it again. You need to research your market. You need to research your competitors. You need to research what's working, what's not working, you know, price point that you need to be able to get your things at. You know, I think I mentioned this before, but general rule of thumb, if you're manufacturing something, you want to be able to get it for about a quarter of what you're actually going to sell it for. You know, and if you want to actually make any money after all the costs and everything, you know, and any decent money, you want to get these things for about a quarter of what you're finally going to sell them for. You know, so you need to know what is the price point in that market. You know, what are you going to sell the thing for, you know, in order to compete with the competition, and based on that, how cheaply do you have to get them for? You know, something else to research. Do people care about, you know, little doodads or something? You know, like, you know, again, people don't really care about like a fancy handle on this. They're happy to complain about anything that doesn't have them, but people aren't really going to pay, you know, 3 times the price for, you know, a little handle and a really pretty little thing, you know. But maybe they would pay more for, you know, for example, some of the people were offering, like, here's a cookbook that comes with it, you know, like a little digital cookbook. Or here I'm selling them in a little 4-pack with, you know, some other little tools that you need for home fermentation and stuff like that, you know. I'm not necessarily saying those little doodads will, you know, make or break your sale. I'm just saying be aware of that. You know, do the research and look and see if other people are selling that. You know, maybe it's kind of important. You know, maybe it's working for them. So, I think that's about all I have for today. But yeah, the last thing here, the doodads, important factors. Um, you know, and again, you know, just the things you want to research, you know, there, well, do people actually care about specific things? Do people care about cost? Do people care about quantity, quality? Depending on the market, you may find that changes. You know, for my thing, people cared about cost. You know, it's a lump of glass. You know, it's a piece of glass for setting on top of food in a jar. You know, they're not really worried too much about you know, what it looks like. They're worried about the quality, you know, but they're more worried about like the food safe quality. They're not really worried about quality as in like how clear the glass is or anything. They just want to know it's not going to give them lead poisoning or something, you know. You know, as opposed to maybe like, you know, if you're selling clothing or something, or you're selling cars, or I don't know, whatever, you know, maybe people have different things they care about. Maybe they do care about what it looks like. Maybe they're willing to pay twice the price for, you know, jeans that look cool, you know, versus jeans that are just standard run of the mill, you know, crappy jeans like I wear all the time, you know. But be aware of that. Do your research, research your market, research your customers, especially research your competition, and don't optimize, or really even design your thing until pretty good what's going to work, or at least what has a good shot of working. Don't design your dream thing and then get it out there and find that nobody really cares because nobody has the same dream thing that you did. So, anyway, again, good luck on whatever it is you're working on. Do your research, whether you've been in business for 20 years or you're just starting. And with that, I'm going to cut it off here, and I will see you next week. Bye.